We start our newscast today with details of the Constitutional Court's verdict on the impeachment of the president. I have our correspondent Oh Soo-young standing by live. Soo-young, welcome. Now, you've been covering this case since the Parliament's impeachment paved the path to a trial at the Constitutional Court. Let's begin with the ruling itself, Soo-young.
Sure, Sunny. So after 111 days, the constitutional battle between the President and the National Assembly has finally concluded after the Constitutional Court's unanimous decision.
The current time is 11:22 a.m. Ruling. President Yoon Suk Yeol is hereby removed from office.
All 8 members of the bench decided to uphold President Yoon Suk Yeol's impeachment, declaring his martial law declaration on December 3rd last year a grave violation of the Constitution and democratic principles. Beginning at 11 a.m., Acting Chief Justice Moon Young-bae delivered a collective decision upholding all 5 grounds for impeachment presented by the National Assembly throughout the trial on how Yoon's martial law order had disrupted the country's constitutional order. Yoon had made the unprecedented effort of defending himself in his impeachment trial hearings, arguing that martial law had been his constitutional right under the Constitution's Article 77, which allows martial law to be declared at a time of national emergency with the need to maintain public order. The court rejected Yoon's arguments, saying his reasons were unacceptable.
By declaring martial law in violation of the Constitution and relevant laws, the respondent reenacted the historical abuse of emergency powers, throwing citizens into a state of shock and causing disruption across all areas of society, economy, politics and diplomacy.
Now, Soo-young, this is the second time, I believe, in South Korean history that a sitting leader has been removed from office for violating the country's constitution. The verdict, as you mentioned earlier, was unanimous. Could you now fill us in on the violations that he has been found to have infringed upon, that is?
Right, it certainly was a fascinating ruling. The written judgment showed that there had been no dissenting opinions among the justices. All 8 of them, the 8-member bench, supported all 5 grounds for impeachment presented by the National Assembly. And unlike what was speculated, there were no minority opinions on this. The court first reviewed Yoon's declaration of martial law. The court found that no genuine emergency nor severe disruption of public order existed to justify his imposition of the controversial measure. Yoon has cited the opposition-led National Assembly's legislative abuse, budget cuts and excessive impeachment motions against his administration as amounting to a state of national emergency. He also raised concerns of electoral fraud and concluded that he'd declared the martial law as a warning or appeal to the nation. The court dismissed these points as sufficient grounds to trigger martial law. While acknowledging intense political tensions, the court stressed that Yoon did have the democratic tools to resolve political disputes without resorting to unconstitutional actions. Also, Yoon's martial law did not meet procedural requirements, as he did not sufficiently consult the cabinet, nor did he promptly inform Parliament about the martial law proclamation, as is required under Article 77. Now, second, the bench said Yoon deployed military and police forces illegally to the National Assembly, infringing on lawmakers' constitutional rights and undermining democratic governance. Third, Yoon's martial law proclamation banned political activities, thereby infringing citizens' basic rights under the Constitution. Also, the former president ordered searches without warrant of the National Election Commission, breaching its independence. Now, the last reason was that Yoon infringed on judicial independence by attempting to locate former judges for potential arrest. The bench also emphasized that the impeachment case itself was legitimate, directly addressing procedural complaints raised by Yoon's legal defense and supporters. Now, having spent a record amount of time deliberating on this case, compared to past presidential impeachments, the 8 justices appeared determined to ground their ruling firmly in constitutional and democratic principles, clearly mindful of the very heavy historical responsibility placed on their shoulders.
I see.